Welcome in to Rover Sports, and it is myself and it is Davey Longhorns here, doing a podcast, and this is really going to be one of our first podcasts that we're going to put on iTunes. And Dave, why don't you give me one moment to retweet the link to Periscope here?
Okay.
But how are you, by the way? How is everything?
Everything's pretty good. Just can't complain. Just still stuck here in quarantine. I'm not out and about with the people that seem to be, revolting against the quarantine, even though I feel like I want to. But
Right. So you think that there's a bunch of people that are out here that are what's it called, rebelling? Brandon Rogers. One second. I told Brandon I'd go on a show today, but I've been a mess all day today. And a note for the show is that we'll answer a lot of questions like towards the end. We're doing it more of a podcast format, but talk about the people that are rebelling from the quarantine. Talk about those folks.
you see out in Michigan, people are rebelling, need to get back to work, probably going broke, and it's a hard time in America because I can see both sides of it. The health side, and then the idea that people, the lower paying job people have no money, and $1,200 doesn't really get you through much of anything if you got real bills to pay. So
Yeah.
I see both sides of it. People are willing basically to risk their lives to work, and there are some studies out there that show that their lives aren't in that great of danger. So
Yeah, let's talk about actualities of I'm just getting like pretty desperate just to have things, because you really like to gamble on sports. I could say that, I guess, on our podcast. And have you been into horse racing? I mean, I know that at Gulfstream they've been out there.
No, I'm not really into that stuff. I mean, I would say, basketball, football, that type of stuff. But like outside of that, some baseball, horse racing isn't really my thing.
Yeah.
But I could see the appeal to it. Just for me, it's always been like my horse is always winning the whole race, and then somehow someone comes up the right side and and overtakes it
and nips you.
And nips me. So I've stayed away from it.
Sometimes my horse is not even in the picture. Sometimes they're just dead last the whole way, or they.
Me and my good friend Tyler from Texas could tell you a great story about horse racing. Not even much money on the line or anything like that. We're in Vegas this year, and that's when everything shut down that same day. Like all the conference tournaments literally canceled on the same day. NBA canceled the night before. We just decided to bet on a horse race, and there's literally nothing else to do in Vegas, either that or be at the blackjack table all night. And we picked some race somewhere, have nothing about it, literally nothing. What is it? It's a buggy race, and our horse is winning the buggy race the entire time. And then in buggy racing, like there's a big gap. Like I'm talking about like 2 or 3 buggies. Like he was like kind of running away with it. Then some buggy comes up the left side. It was like as if you've watched the Fast and Furious movies, right, Spencer?
Yeah, I do. Probably not as religiously as you.
No, but I mean, even like the first one, like it's like they press the NOS button, like, and boom, like this one buggy comes up the right side, like faster than any car I've ever seen. Wins the race.
What did you have decent odds on your on the one winning?
I don't even remember if they were good or bad. If we might have just bet just because it was a favorite and we needed something to watch. I mean, I really don't know.
Yeah, but I've been watching Gulfstream. It goes off like every 15 minutes. But
does Gulfstream race every day?
Gulfstream in Florida.
I've been there.
They race, right in Miami, right? It's like right near
Hollywood Beach.
Hollywood, right near the Diplomat.
Yeah, Hollywood Beach. I know.
Yep, Gulfstream. It's beautiful. I love the state of Florida. I love the way that they're doing things. I hope we can get spring training baseball in Florida.
Hopefully.
Let's talk a little bit about The Last Dance. Sorry to belabor the point. So last night's episode, I thought those were the 2 best episodes of the documentary last night.
Yeah, it's funny is that, the documentary is 10 parts, obviously. Nothing that the listeners don't already know, but usually to me it seems like the first the first two episodes are really good, and then maybe like the last one's like really good, kind of like in the middle of like these documentaries, these multiple parts, like you
Yeah.
might find like one good episode like here and there.
Hmm.
To me it has seemed like, I could be wrong, this is just my opinion, every episode or every week has gotten better. Now I'm not going to say like one was better than two and then like 3 and 4 were better than both, but it just seems like it steps up each week. Just gets a little bit better, a little bit better, and a little bit better. I can't say it's regressed at all. Maybe there's been an episode, maybe like episode 4 wasn't as good as 3 or some vice versa, but I think each week has gotten better than the week before, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I thought that the Dennis Rodman one, I think it was 3. I think it was okay. I think that 3 and 4. I like the way the series opened. I was so desperate to kind of see it all happen. But I think that the most fascinating episode was the downfall of Michael, like why he decided to quit basketball. I never knew about that story. I never knew why Michael Jordan wanted to quit basketball. I had really no idea about that.
Yeah, I mean, as a basketball fan, I can't say that I knew like much about it. You've always heard the rumors of, well, he said he walked away because of his dad, and then, you know, the conspiracy theory rumors that are out there, which I think are bizarre because I think they would have been confirmed by this point. And who knows, maybe they'll be confirmed next week, and we'll just never know it until then. But the whole that he got suspended by the NBA because of the outside gambling stuff, like, it just like, even watching it last week, it almost puts it to bed that it's a no. You know, he definitely didn't get suspended for that.
What's the problem with gambling
There isn't.
outside of basketball?
It would just be like more, it's merely frowned upon than,
Yeah.
there's nothing illegal about it. It would be just more merely, like, we don't like your image of what you're doing to the league, And so I think it's just one of those things that I think the gambling played a factor in the decision, but not because of, he was told by anything. It's just like he was getting berated unjustifiably, in my opinion, by the media. It's like, I mean, that same media member who's berating Michael Jordan is the same guy going to the casino and playing the slots, or per se, or playing with a legal bookie, like whatever it is, Like,
Exactly.
people are making judgments on his life when he's actually doing things that are not even illegal, like compared to what, same person.
So many people are doing, I don't know, like they're doing maybe drugs, or they're actually assaulting, beating people up. And you know what it is, Dave, here in America or anywhere, it's kind of like Tiger Woods. Like we like to kind of tear down people after building them up. And I'm trying to think of an athlete who's really like made it through the ringer. I think it's very hard on social media to always stay on top of the world. An example might be Johnny Football, but maybe Johnny Football brought it amongst himself because he had Nathan Finch and all those like really weird kind of slimy people that he just seemed to be hanging with in College Station. What other athlete do you think was like at the pinnacle? Maybe it's Tiger. What do you think about that? Like in the modern era, what athlete is at the pinnacle? And we're going to try to poke holes in that athlete pretty soon.
Well, I mean, first of all, I think Johnny Football doesn't get as much of a pass to me because he was only at a pinnacle for about a year and a half before he started tearing himself down,
And guess what, Dave? Like Johnny Football, I don't think he even would have been that good in the league. Do you agree with that anyway? Like even if he wasn't a drunk?
Yeah, I mean, I think the whole thing was like a mythical thing, but like I think the Tiger example is a great example for Jordan because it's almost like a relatable example, where, he was that picture perfect-esque guy, nothing controversial, nothing at all with him. And then obviously the marriage thing, and now everybody hated him for, I would say, a good 2, 3, 4, 5 years, and now everybody loves him again because the same reasons you love Tiger are the reasons you'll come back to him and forgive him. But it's like he disappointed the people, but it also showed to me that Tiger's human. And I think the same, like Tiger and MJ, I think two different things. In infidelity, it's not excusable, but I'm going to tie it all into this. And then Jordan, the gambling, it's like the spotlight's constantly on you. And it's like almost like it's their only way to release from the real world, So whether it was Tiger cheating on his wife, which it's a bad example. I'm not trying to excuse it, but really MJ with the gambling, it might be his only real escape from all the chaos that constantly comes with being that, not a superstar. I'm calling like a meta star, like where they are the biggest of the biggest people in the world. Like,
You know what it is? I think just people need to get older, or the way to stop treating these guys as superstars is to be rejected a couple of times by athletes. Like as you get older, I'm sure, David, that you've had stories as a kid, like you idolize certain people, and then you might have had a couple that weren't really friendly to you, or even like when I was like 20 or 21 and I'm trying to get into sports broadcasting, you'll see people that are pretty nice, but it's kind of the same routine. Like they're not going to be your best buddy. Like you'll go out, you'll meet like a celebrity at like a bar, or you'll meet them somewhere, and you want to really be tight with them or be their friend, but they're not going to respect you until you make it yourself. And that's what I think more people need to understand.
I would completely agree with that. And also, I think a lot of these people are good people at heart. Like, Michael Jordan or any celebrity, a lot of them are good people at heart, cool people at heart. They want to be, just one of the guys. But think about how many people that they meet and, are nice to them and things like that. So, it's hard. They're going to be nice to you, but at the same time, no one's going to really care about you and tell you, as you said, make it yourself.
Yeah, and I'm like my dad met Michael Jordan, and he wasn't like the friendliest. He just kind of stormed out of a restaurant, and because I told my dad like he's just like another guy to Michael, and like he's not going to be special. But if he was maybe playing a whole 18 holes with Michael, he would have like respected my dad more. And that's the thing about being a celebrity. And I don't know. I feel like I would like the attention in some parts because it's better than what the majority of humans have, which is almost zero attention or zero limelight. It's like weird to even think about.
Yeah, I can't relate to it. I don't know that. Like, obviously, everyone would like Michael Jordan's money. But it's like the attention. I don't know that I would want that type of attention, to be 100% honest with you,
Yeah.
And I think me as a person, Spence, the audience doesn't know. Like, I wouldn't want like people kissing my ass 24/7. If you know one thing about me, like I would hate that.
You would be a great villain, though, to the public.
I might, but
you would thrive. You would thrive to the public because they would hate your guts. And on here, myself, Sam Darnold, like Jets fans hate me. And eventually, if you're going to do a YouTube show, you have to embrace people just absolutely hating you, or you could try to appease people all the time. I don't know. A lot of YouTubers are able to somehow do that. But if you're going to have opinions, you're going to irritate people. That's just the way it goes.
You can't make everybody happy all the time. I mean,
if you can't.
If you try to make everybody happy all the time, especially if you are doing the podcast or any opinionated thing, guess what? You're going to be seen as fake real quick. Because
and guess what? You're going to make yourself real unhappy because you're just going to overextend yourself and stress yourself to death. So I'm going to switch gears here. Clyde Drexler. He's a guy that when you think about NBA history, you don't really think about Clyde Drexler. And this is a guy like I've heard this on many podcasts. They made it seem like he completely sucked the whole series against Michael. But in fact, he didn't in that series. What is it about Drexler? And what I want to know, Dave, is why doesn't Drexler speak? Why doesn't he have any personality that you know about? Can you describe to me Clyde Drexler? Because I don't really know a lot about him. And why do you think that he's not glorified, Clyde Drexler, that much?
Well, I think he that's a very fair question, by the way. Clyde Drexler, very good player. I mean, I think maybe like a 9 or a 10-time All-Star, something crazy like that. A member of the Dream Team, So I think he just was one of these guys that never was the best player in the NBA. I think, always like maybe like a 4th or a 5th, 6th type of guy, and just never the best guy at his position. He was a great player. I'm trying to think of someone like he's like today, like
Middleton.
Maybe Middleton, maybe not the best example. I'm trying to
Someone to McCollum, CJ McCollum.
But I think he's better than that. I'm gonna do a little cheat sheet here. I'm gonna pull
Let's do it. Ray Allen.
No, I'm gonna give you a better example here. Okay, maybe without the swag. Okay, like a Damian Lillard, a very, very, very good player in the NBA, the best player on a team, and has success, but really isn't considered into that like superstar level, if that makes
that apex. The great thing about Drexler is that he made the finals, though. And you know what it is? It's athletes today. You know, they're on social media. There's just more sports talk, and Portland's just a sleepy kind of town. It just is, and
sleepy without any social media attention. I could 100% agree with that.
And it's just funny, and he's just quiet. He doesn't do like any TV shows. And Charles, I mean, Charles' life after basketball is almost as great as his basketball, and that's saying so much.
I think he's actually had a better life after basketball, and that is, you're right, it is saying a lot. I mean, because he's had an unbelievable career, you know?
Yeah. And the Sixers traded away Barkley, and it's wild that the Sixers traded him away, I guess. There's just a lot of trades. And then that Suns team, I mean, it's crazy how Danny Ainge is also in all of these series. Like, is that something you also is that something that was also interesting, was looking at that Suns team last night that were playing the Bulls?
I'll tell you something, like I'm a basketball guy, I'm a historian. If there's a team that, in my opinion, that was the team that had the best chance to beat the Bulls far and beyond out of all those. I don't think it was. I think let me get my words correct here. The Jazz were more of that, rival because they played them 2 times and stuff like that, and they became very good. I think that Suns team was the best team. I think they were the most complete team to have a chance to beat the Bulls. I mean, it took, if you watch that series, Game 6, they're down 4 points with 30 seconds to go. It takes a quick 5-0 run in the last 30 seconds of the game basically to win the game for the Bulls. So it would have been a tied series, 3-3. It's just one of those things that Suns team was a very good team. And honestly, then if you remember the next year after that, the Rockets were as good as anyone. So that team, probably out of all of them, kind of got slighted in the history of a really good basketball team,
Yeah, and then I guess the Suns were never the same because I guess Barkley just broke down after that.
Yeah, and also the Rockets were really, really good for 2 years,
It was Olajuwon, right? And the rise of Olajuwon.
Yeah, Olajuwon and
Ken Smith.
Yeah, Olajuwon. I mean, what's his name? He the second time around, Drexler was actually on the team. So,
he came back.
Yeah, he Drexler went to Houston for a few years. I think he was definitely on the team. He was very good that year.
Oh, in 98.
No, 94, 95, if I'm not mistaken. Drexler wins a championship with
Houston.
I'm like almost positive that he
left. Yeah. And then when was
93, 94?
When was the Magic one in 98? 98? Was that the one where the guy missed the free throws in game 1? The Magic? Or was that 95 with Shaq, Houston?
I have to go look it up.
I'm quizzing you. I'm quizzing you here on the show. I'll actually take some time to greet the listeners. I want to thank everybody like Texas Savage, Ian's Nation. Got a Jake Fromm fan in here. Oscar Ostonendorf. A lot of good people. And Octavius, Texas says Nick Anderson, the guy who missed the free throws there.
Yeah, I think that was a 4-game sweep, if I'm not mistaken, too.
It was after that. I believe that was. Connor, how you doing, man? Yeah, I think it was it was a big sweep. But then after that, that's when the Bulls won 3 straight after that, correct?
Yeah, because you remember in 94, 95, MJ makes his comeback like late in the season. They make a couple, the team just wasn't on all cylinders, and MJ might not have been on all cylinders, and then win the next 3 after that.
Do you believe that the 92 team is better than 72 and 10?
I thought that the 92 team was not better than 72 and 10. No, I can't. No.
Was it because I think that Grant is almost just as good as Rodman?
I just think that team, the 72 and 10, there's a lot to be said for what they did as a team.
Yeah. So looking at yesterday and the Last Dance and all of the notables. I mean, I love going back and watching this basketball. Something also with the basketball, Dave, is that when Paxton hits a 3-pointer, there's probably 2 seconds left, and in those days, right, there's no timeout to advance it to half court. Is that correct?
I think you are correct on that. I believe you are correct.
The funny thing is watching these game winners is that they happen with like 12 seconds left. Like, how about the national championship in North Carolina, Georgetown? No one talks about the last possession either.
It was like a broken possession from Georgetown completely.
So if Paxson misses the 3, then it's game 7. If Jordan chokes in game 7, I actually think then the Bulls might have, it just would have, Michael would have actually been completely different, or game 7 would have been like one of the most epic games maybe ever. I mean, if Michael ever lost a championship, just the whole basketball would be completely different, I think, if game 7 actually happened.
I think you could have, I mean, I think if Michael they don't win that game, Michael's going to retire either way, I think, after that game. And where basketball could have been different is Michael might have taken longer away from the game, I mean,
if he lost game 7, he would have been so pissed he would have wanted to come back.
Maybe not. I think the whole situation, even that you read in the 98 season with Jerry Krause and stuff like that, I think there's a lot of it that it just seems like Jerry was pushing on these guys the wrong way. Not necessarily the Scottie Pippen thing, but it just always seemed like Jerry wanted to break up the whole thing, And also the whole thing with the media, pushing on. Maybe I'm wrong.
I think that the media actually drove Michael away from the game, but it was so cool to see Ahmad Rashad. And it's kind of sad because I'm watching this doc and you have Rashad, David Aldridge, Michael Wilbon. I think that these guys like 8 years ago were just a lot more prominent in just the media, like David Aldridge. I used to listen to him all the time. It's like, I haven't seen Aldridge in such a long time,
Well, Ahmad Rashad directly goes to Aldridge a little bit. Wilbon, I mean, he's on ESPN still, so it's not really
right. PTI, but do you still watch PTI?
No, but he's on Sports Center and other things,
Yeah, he does cover the finals.
Yeah, but Ahmad Rashad directly is one of these guys whose whole NBA career basically he was Michael Jordan's best friend, one of Michael Jordan's best friends around. And it's very convenient that his time with NBC Sports ends in 2002. Basically ends December of 2002. When did MJ retire? April of 2003. And it was announced. It's one of these guys that it almost feel like it eerily feels like NBC did not value him in any way other than the fact that he was able to get the exclusives with Michael. And that's something looking back on 20 years, you look at it, did they even value him at all other than he was MJ's best friend? And
well, he seemed like a good guy. I mean,
I agree with you. It's just you start looking at it for what it is, and it's like, you
know what, these guys,
they were done with him completely.
These interviewers, all you need is the access, I think, to the athletes and the trust. And I'm kind of surprised that Ahmad, he couldn't latch on to the next guy. So the next guy after Michael in 2000, and I was watching kind of this guy back, I think Vince Carter McGrady, actually it was Kobe then. I would say it was Kobe from 2000 to 2005 was the Kobe Bryant era. And Rashad, in LA, he couldn't get in with the guys in LA. So then he couldn't get to McGrady. And I mean, Rachel Nichols is kind of like who the NBA guys talk to now. Like, I think it's women who pull like probably the biggest interviews, but the whole Rashad thing, that is pretty funny to think about.
Yeah, it's an interesting dynamic for sure. But the thing you got to remember, Amar Rashad today, he's 70 years old. Like, he's older. So
he looks like he's 50 years old.
Yeah, well, I mean, it is what it is. But, NFL running back, so all that good stuff.
I never knew about that.
Buffalo Bills, baby.
Rashad.
Amar Rashad, yeah.
Yeah.
Running back, him and OJ were actually in the same backfield back in the day.
Killer backfield.
We're not going to get into that, but
OJ's a good golfer too. I mean, I'm
sure he's good at a lot of things, but we don't talk about OJ.
OJ.
Okay, so anyway, Amar Rashad, you say his inability to get in with these guys. It's like he's also older, like
yeah.
MJ, yeah, he was older than MJ, but still, it's not like he was like, maybe he might have been like 35, 36 when MJ was coming into the league or whatever, So, when MJ became huge, 38, 39, working for NBC Sports, so there's still relatability, but by the time you're talking 55, 56 compared to these guys are 19, 20, 21 years old, 22.
So let's just point out, like, do a little rapid fire. I enjoyed talking about The Last Dance. I want to talk about the absurdities of last night's show. Maybe I'll go with one weird like I want you to say one weird clip that just was so like just that would never happen today. Should I lead it off because I immediately have an example?
Spencer, you go for it.
I guess it's my show. I think the fact that Magic Johnson was broadcasting as a color guy as he was still kind of in the league, it was absolutely incredible. It would be like Marv Albert and Kevin Durant like announcing LeBron versus Golden State. Like, I thought that was phenomenal. Like how I like this year for the rookie challenge, they gave Miles Turner and Donovan Mitchell some broadcasting practice, but this was the NBA Finals and Magic was just on the call. I thought that was pretty awesome.
And definitely awesome, but it's no different than what Tony Romo is, because Magic was out of the league at that time,
Oh, he was out in 92.
Yeah, like he was out of the league at that time, and it'd be no different. But that's why like Tony Romo is so good, because he's still closely connected to the league, and he's got the dynamic personality. Probably was the same thing with Magic Johnson, dynamic personality, great talker,
right? So an absurdity was what that you saw yesterday.
I thought my favorite scene of the whole Last Dance so far was the quarter throwing with him and the security guard. That guy, the security guard, is a legend. Apparently he's dead, but is an absolute legend.
Tell me the game exactly, because I know he was trying to get it close to the wall, but like what is the objective basically in that game?
The objective in that game, if I'm not mistaken, I haven't played that game before actually, but I picked it up pretty quick. If I'm not mistaken, it's to get the quarter as close to the wall as possible without hitting the wall. Yeah.
It looked like Jordan was really pretty good at it himself. Like it was, but that guy basically on his first throw, it almost is like shuffleboard.
Yeah, definitely a little bit like that. I would definitely say, yeah, you could compare it.
How about Miller Lite?
Miller Lite
on the training table.
Oh,
and they're saying they would smoke cigars like all the time.
Hey, it's a different time. Not as many cameras are around back then, obviously, as they are today. And those cameras that are even picking that up are documentary cameras. And I don't know if they care or didn't care, but it's definitely a different time.
Simon K says, this is boring. There's only 3 people on here, but Simon's one of those 3 people. So I guess he's one of the boring ones.
Hey, Simon, you know what? We're all boring. This is quarantine. I don't think we're all having the most exciting time.
Yeah, I was going to rip him back in the comments, but I'll just announce him on the podcast. And I appreciate him giving us another view for another boring show. Let's switch gears to the Dallas Cowboys, a little more rapid fire football talk for a lot of people that have stuck around here. Is there any chance Dak is not coming back to the Dallas Cowboys, that Andy Dalton's just going to be this next quarterback for the Cowboys?
I think there's a chance that Dak doesn't come back because you never know, what gets offered as far as draft compensation and things like that. I mean, if the Jacksonville Jaguars were to come in and offer 2 first-round picks, or or some team that we just don't expect that nor values Dak at a very high number, the team that already has a quarterback in place just says, hey, Dak's our guy. Yeah, maybe. I put it low at best, but I think Andy Dalton is more of just played at TCU, likes the area,
Gonna retire there, plays golf there.
I see it as the ultimate safety net at quarterback. It's one of those, you have a lot invested in that team, a lot invested in that offense, that if Dak were to get hurt, it all doesn't go, to waste, because you're playing Cooper Rush at quarterback.
Oh, guess what? Simon just made me feel a lot better about myself.
What did Simon say?
He says, I'm here because of your garbage take on James Morgan. So it's not that the show completely sucked tonight or that it was really boring. He's just going to hate everything I do because of Morgan. Now I completely understand. Now I have a bond kind of with Simon. I totally get where he's coming from now.
Simon, I agree with you.
Simon, yeah, Dave likes Sam Darnold. The thing about Morgan, man, FIU, that guy was freaking slinging the rock at FIU. I just think Morgan needs an opportunity. Morgan needs a chance, but Sam Darnold, now he's got Denzel Mims. Come on, Dave. They're not making the playoffs this year with Sam Darnold and Adam Gase.
James Morgan's never going to be the answer there.
So you think this Jets team's going to be good this year?
Has nothing to do with that, Spencer.
So you're saying if Darnold flames out, they're drafting another quarterback. Morgan's never getting a chance.
Yes, Spencer.
Okay.
Morgan would have to be unbelievably special to even get a thought.
Like Russell Wilson, I guess. Like Russell was special.
Yeah.
Here's the thing about Dak Prescott. I don't think Dak is all that good. I think that I was so disappointed by Dak when he played the Philadelphia Eagles. I mean, that was a game that Dak Prescott, he should have won that game to win the division. Everything was right there. He only put up 9 points. He can't really push it down the field. He doesn't take a lot of chances. I'm being a little hypocritical on myself as I evaluate Dak, because I thought he played very well in the Seattle Seahawks playoff game. In the LA Rams game, he held up his end of the bargain, but that defense was freaking pitiful. That defense fell apart. And the Dallas Cowboys in the playoffs under Jason Garrett, I know I'm talking like a Cowboys fan. Maybe a part of me is a Cowboys fan, because I'm sounding pretty heated. But against the Vikings, Brett Favre blew the shit out of the Cowboys, absolutely murdered the Cowboys. In that Green Bay game, the Cowboys defense couldn't get a stop on Rodgers. You all talk about the Dez catch. That happened with 8 minutes to go. It's just that the Dallas Cowboys, they need a complete team. And Jalen Smith and Van Der Esch wasn't as dominant as he was his rookie year last year.
I mean, you look at Dak's numbers, I wouldn't say I think he wasn't as good as his numbers show, but I mean, almost 5,000 yards, interception rate was 1.8 for throw. His QB ratings damn near 100, 99.7. I think he was a very good quarterback, but it will go to my theory of, are the Cowboys ready just to say, we're done with it and we're going to build a rookie quarterback, or do we want a veteran quarterback? If they want a veteran quarterback, then yes, it's going to be Dak Prescott. If they were to say, which my personal belief, and I know it's off the beaten path a little bit, I know there are some people who agree with it, I would say get rid of Dak, cut your losses, and draft a rookie in the first round. You're much better off as a franchise. That's what I would do, because I don't think Dak's one of those 3 or 4 guys in the NFL that truly make a difference. But I don't think Andy Dalton has anything to do with what's going on with that.
Thing about Dalton, just talk about why Dalton isn't. Talk about why Andy Dalton couldn't take that next step.
I think lacks elite arm strength, and I think he lacks even above average mobility. So he's kind of below average arm strength. I would say average mobility, within the pockets. I think the game kind of changed around him to where when he first kind of came to the league, you could kind of get away with, spreading it around, short throws and things like that. But over the last few years, even especially, he's not mobile. Just because you can step up and, make a first down here and there does not make you mobile. He's not mobile from side to side within the court, within, the realm of things, making throws on runs. It seems like it's either Dalton in the pocket or Dalton straight up the middle to make a 10-yard run,
A 2-yard run.
Whatever you want to call it.
You know what the thing is about Dalton is I think that this is the thing about Andy Dalton. He lacks actually that FU confidence. He lacks the confidence to even make like a big throw or even a risky throw. And that's what separates Eli from Andy Dalton because Eli Manning is dumb enough to sometimes turn into the Tyree play or turn into the incredible play. You look at Brett, I guess the ultimate example, the overused example. But there's some cool, even Fitzpatrick has gotten the most out of himself because he'll make the risky back shoulder throw. Andy Dalton will never do that. He'll never take over the game. It's all about seizing the momentum as a quarterback. Tom Brady and Big Ben do it the best. Fur down, money down, you got to have it. Tom Brady and Big Ben and the elite ones rise. And Dalton was never able to do that. He was never able to elevate in the playoffs. That game against the Chargers will haunt him forever. The game when he went to the Colts, I guess everybody got hurt that year. But Marvin Lewis, it was 11-5. It was kind of solid. And then McCarron actually had more success against that injured Steelers team. The culture was messed up. Dalton needed an offensive coordinator to absolutely unlock him, kind of like Tannehill, where he just falls into a perfect place. It just never seemed to happen with the guy because the guy is like an Alex Smith, and he just doesn't have that confidence to stray away. And maybe he can't make the off-schedule throws because of the mobility. Maybe he just can't do it.
I mean, he has last year I'm just looking into some deeper stats. He was 9th in the league in interception rate. So for a guy that's even considered captain check down, I mean,
yeah,
he's throwing a pick about 3% of the time he throws the ball. So it's a little bit higher than the league average. And you start thinking about it, it's the guy is a little bit more loosey goosey with the ball, and I would have to equate the immobility. The ability to make the off-schedule throw, and then maybe when he does, it's inaccurate. I mean, I haven't broken down Dalton's film like that, but, just some of the things you read about him. And, he is who he is.
It was shocking. So I think that that Flacco had a fall from grace because of the mobility thing, because somehow this NFL, the edge rusher just able to get to him. That Chiefs game was a disaster, but Flacco was still in the games last year. But he just is so inconsistent when you needed Flacco the most. And in Baltimore, he was just so similar to Dalton because Flacco has talent. I've seen it. But for some reason, Flacco has also just failed in that degree.
Well, I think the big difference between even a Flacco and a Dalton is right now, both lack the side-to-side mobility, but I would say a big difference is that at least Flacco possesses the threat to beat you over the top. For defense, you have to respect that. Where Dalton, you don't have to respect it as much, or as often because the arm strength is just not there. So Flacco at least checks that box and makes it maybe a tad harder on the defense, where if you're going to go all out blitz, you are going to take the risk of Flacco just slinging one out there and beating you over the top compared to Dalton, where it just doesn't happen. So that's maybe where I think Flacco had a little more success last year at times.
It's mobility in the pocket, because you look at Joe Burrow, he's not running really fast or Tua. It's just the ability for your feet to just dodge bullets in the pocket, go from one to, it's all lateral, like you're talking about.
Yeah, I mean, can you make that read option, the modern throws to read option, it's instead of a 3-step drop, it's 3 steps, say right, and then hit the guy on an out route, 4 yards and out, and hope that they can take it up the field. Can you do that throw? Dalton can't do that.
You know what's interesting about the NFC East and the Eagles and the Cowboys is that the Dallas Cowboys, everybody says they have this great offensive line. You have Zach Martin and Tyron Smith, but these guys are eventually getting old, and the guys in the middle of that offensive line are going to start to get really old. They just got a new center. Like, I'm not even sure their offensive line is all that good. It's just kind of this stereotype that just gets carried and carried over from year to year.
I would agree. I think they had a great offensive line. Zeke's rookie year, and ever since then it just has not graded out even as highly on those pro football focuses and things like that. I would agree. It definitely seems to be a little bit of a stereotype. I think it's a good offensive line, but I don't think it's.
With Murray, they were very good. I think when DeMarco was there, and then with
Zeke's not freshman year, but his rookie year, they were excellent.
That's the year when Aaron Rodgers just beat them. And again, they had the lapse in the playoffs again. I think the Packers beat them out of the gates like 30-0. So, but looking at the Eagles, looking at the NFC East,
you remember how that game was won though?
Jared Cook or Mason Crosby.
Yep. The Cook miracle throw, and then Prescott leads them back, and what's called Cook's miracle catch throw, and then Crosby. Yep.
Yeah, I loved it. I think they iced him too. But do you remember Skip Bayless, how it was fading left, and he said that just it was almost God wanted Green Bay to win.
Oh, I loved it. Yeah.
It was just one of those incredible games from Aaron Rodgers, and then it was Falcons Patriots in the championship. So the Patriots, that might have been Deflategate, that night game. No, I'm getting it wrong. Who did the Patriots beat that year to get to Atlanta? No, it was Pittsburgh, I believe, actually.
I don't remember.
Here, I'll look it up. But you remember how shitty that NFC Championship game was between Atlanta and the Packers? The Packers are just dead.
If I'm not mistaken, but yeah, the Packers. There's never a bigger guarantee than the winning that game.
The Falcons.
Oh, I knew it going in. I was sure of it.
Is that like the Vikings this year going to San Francisco?
Probably for you. I didn't see it quite that way, but maybe I thought the San Francisco was going to win, but I could have seen in my head how the Vikings could have come up with a scenario,
So why did you think that the Packers were dead going to Atlanta the next week?
Because I don't know if you remember that year. It was like Atlanta was in the Georgia. Whenever they were in that Georgia dome, they were just flying high. They were just, you couldn't beat them at home that year, and the offense on turf was just flying at all cylinders all the time, and kind of was one of those deals that the Packers kind of seemed, if you remember, just seemed to get lucky a little bit that year, and the defense wasn't great, and Aaron Rodgers seemed to have to pull these crazy plays out, and I just didn't think it was going to last.
Yeah, I believe that was the year Adrian Peterson had the legendary year, and then Christian Ponder, before the playoff game, was benched, and Joe Webb played the Packers in the wild card game. Do you remember that?
It might have been. I really don't.
That was a real shit show of a game. Same with Matt Moore going to the Pittsburgh Steelers. There's just some classic, just horrendous wild card games. But I'll bring our discussion to the current day. Joe Judge in the media, will shift to the Giants here. Joe Judge said, I don't know if you saw this quote, but he said to McKinney and Thomas, I don't want players making comparisons or talking Super Bowls. Did you see that quote?
I have not seen that quote.
Oh, it's a quote from Judge. Basically, my question to you is, do you think Judge is too anti-player like Matt Patricia, and that some guys are going to turn on Joe Judge?
I think Joe Judge seems like right now he is trying hard to be Bill Belichick, in that type of mold, like the disciplinarian. I don't think he's trying too hard. I think it's one of those things. If he wins, people will believe in it. Now, that type of attitude, though, if you lose, I mean, that's how you lose a job real quick. So I'm not one to judge because I think that's who he really is. I think he believes this to his soul. I think he's seen it work in New England, and hopefully he can bring the success to New York. And I think a lot of it will have to do how well did we actually do in the draft compared to like what we think. It's when they get on the field and they actually perform. You know, the signings of Blake Martinez, Bradbury, and those guys. If all this stuff works out, I think Joe Judge is the perfect guy.
I'm really excited for football. Thursday is the schedule release for NFL football. Let's just go rapid fire here. I'm here with Davey Longhorns. This is Rover Sports, the podcast. It's going to be on Apple tonight. I really enjoyed the discussion so far. We're talking Last Dance. We're talking NFL Draft. Okay, we'll go rapid fire here, just some quick topics. What do you think about the NBA, the prospects of them playing out playoffs? Is it going to be best out of 5? How do you think that it's going to happen?
First of all, I think the NBA, if it comes back, if it's best out of 5, I don't see them doing that. I think it's going to be best out of 7, all that stuff, because you're really looking at maybe the first round goes best out of 5, or you really can make the NBA Finals best out of 5. I don't see it. Conference Finals best out of 5. I don't see it.
First round, maybe.
And what's going to be interesting is, do they finish out the regular season? I don't know what the right answer is one way or the other. And like from what I'm reading, it's like the Warriors want no part of it. Like even playing another game. So I think these things are a lot more complicated. I'm personally of the belief that the NBA might not even play.
I have a great strategy for the way to settle the unfairness of the late round seeds. They actually did this a year ago. They had a play-in game for the 8th seed. Why not have 9 versus 8 for the playoffs, for the right to go into the playoffs?
I don't know. It's definitely something to look at, and I can't say one way or the other whether I like it or not, because I'd have to look at I'd have to look at the standings and see how far people are off and things like that. At the times, and if it's one game, then yeah, I could see it. But let's pull up the standings right now. Let's look at the East. The Washington Wizards are 5.5 games back of the Orlando Magic. They wouldn't deserve it, in my opinion.
They wouldn't even need it. And then let's look at I'll look at the West. I think it's the Hornets, right? That are close. No, not the New Orleans Pelicans are close.
They're 3.5 back of the Grizzlies. If you did it for one game, there's 3 teams that are 3.5 games back. And then the Spurs are 4 games back, so it's
that might be unfair to the Grizzlies.
Yeah, it's in my opinion, you have to play out the games if you're going to give anyone a chance. It's not one game. There's a significant margin, in my opinion.
So the craziest thing about the NBA playoffs, I think that baseball in the desert can actually work for the regular season. I think that it can kind of be normal, and then you could see if you could get back for some playoff baseball. I think that if you had that in the Orlando Magic, a summer league format, it would be very fun to watch, just seeing these guys. But I don't think it should get rewarded like an NBA championship if you're playing in an empty practice arena. You might want to label it like a tournament, not an NBA Finals championship.
I don't agree or disagree with that. I think it's if you're playing for it, if you're finishing the season, then you're playing for the NBA championship, and that's what it is, And if not, then why even come back and play? Why not wait until December or something like that to?
But if they don't play, what are the punishments going to be with the NBA with the money in terms of TV revenue and contracts?
I think if they don't play, the salary cap will definitely go down. I think it's already going down substantially already this year because of the whole China thing with Daryl Morey. I think they lost a lot of revenue with that from everything I've been reading. In February, that the players were pissed because the cap was projected to go down a few $1 million, and a few $1 million when the cap was projected to go up. I think 1.5. It was supposed to go up $1.5 million in the 2020-21 season. when they were projecting it in the summer of 2019. And then by February of 2020, it's projected to go down like $3 million. It's basically $4.5 million off the table, for every team. And then I think it will affect the cap. And then for the players directly, what will be very, very interesting is they lose money coming into next year's salary. So basically, the NBA can penalize them. Everyone's still getting paid right now. And the reason why you saw the big deal of the 25% getting cut, well, it's actually good for the players to have it get cut right now. And then if they play, get the money later, because next year the NBA will literally take the money out of their paychecks and get paid back. So the owners will get paid back one way or the other.
You mean either with TV or they're going to take it from the players?
No. If the players don't play the games, and I know this because I've talked to people who are in the NBA, what literally happens is there is some sort of a language, I don't know what the exact wording of the language is, that they will have their money taken out of their paycheck from the 2020-21 season because they didn't complete the amount of games that were required, in the season before. So either way, the money is going to be.
Either way, the owners are getting paid.
Either way, the owners will only pay them for what they played.
And the players are screwed.
Yeah.
Wait, but once they play this year, the playoffs, the owners are still getting the money in future.
This is where it's complicated because the playoffs has nothing to do with the regular season money. That's why I think if they come back, they're going to do everything in their power to play all of the regular season because it's all about playing the 82 games. 82 games is what pays the players. The playoffs barely doesn't make a dent in what pays the players. Players are paid. The player's salary structure is basically you get paid per game. So you get paid 1 out of 82. If you get suspended, your fine is basically 1 out of 82. It's actually 1 out of like 90 because they take the preseason into account to it too. But the playoffs have nothing to do with it.
But the playoffs don't make money for the league, which in general maybe it can increase salary cap, if the league's making more money.
And then the players get like, I'll call it a stipend. Maybe they make like 50,000, 100,000 each. And then the playoffs are also what, makes you the big money in the regular season. Incentives. Yeah. So
contracts.
No, I'm just talking about in general. Who makes the most money? The players that go far in the playoffs. So you're getting. What I'm saying though is your salary is broken down into regular season. It's not broken down into the playoffs. So, but yeah, obviously the players that get paid the most are the ones that do well in the playoffs and are LeBron goes far in the playoffs every year, but LeBron does not get paid too much extra. Like LeBron James making $40 million a year. If he doesn't make the playoffs, guess what? He's still making that $40 million. It's based on the 82 regular season games being played.
So what players would actually want to do these playoffs? Just for it's not for money that much. It's for the sake of competitive basketball. Yeah. That's what it's all about. Just love of the game. But I think a lot of some guys might be checked out already. They might just want to go on vacation and just say, screw it.
Yeah, it's, and also I don't know what amendments will be made with the league and the players and the playoffs, if that's counting towards your regular season salary. I don't, I'm not privy to that information. No, personally, none of us are, but I will be surprised if they don't try to at least get, where they're talking about exhibition games. Like it's basically the regular season games being played. If they don't try to play each team 5 to 10 games to get closer to that 82 number.
More. Even next year. So that 2021, they're not taking out too much money.
Yeah, so they're not like basically being taxed on the fact that they didn't play.
Whew. Well, pretty much the owners are in a great spot.
When you start thinking about it, all right, let's just do simple math. Some of these guys, these are the players who actually worry about the money the least, all right? But Chris Paul and Russell Westbrook, the 2 highest paid players in the NBA right now. making about $41 million. Okay. So there's 82 games. Well, let's do the math. That's 500 grand a game. The what's it called? The Rockets and the Thunder have played 64 games so far this year. If they did not play another regular season game, they lose $9 million over the next year.
What the team or Chris Paul? You're saying
Chris Paul, Russell Westbrook will lose $9 million from their salary over the next year, and then there's that escrow.
Yeah, and it's more for the fringe guys like the Alex Abrinases and stuff, or whoever is on the Rockets. Our guy
you're losing 23% of your salary if there was not another NBA game this year.
Yeah, and that's going to be like probably a big factor.
Huge factor.
Yeah, but who knows if who knows like how the next season's going to be. And then here's the thing: if in December, this could really screw it up. If it flares up again in December, like say someone has Corona again, then you're really screwed, right? Because then it could take even more than a 23% if you keep delaying it.
Oh, I think it definitely could. I think
that's fascinating because the lockout, like the players lost money big time then the lockout, and then you talk about shortening the season, and I guess it's never going to happen because the players are just not getting paid, right? If you shorten the regular season to like 62 games.
Yeah, when people talk about less NBA basketball, I kind of laugh because there is no way that the owners are going to give up the gate on it and then say, keep your same salary. We're going to make it 62 games. It's laughable in every imaginable way that the owners are going to say that the players would give up the money, which they won't. And then the owners would say, okay, we're going to still pay you the same amount of money for less games. It just doesn't work.
Yeah, because all the stadium, the concessions, TV, everything about those games, kind of matters. But I think it'll be, I guess, silver. It'll be fast. The NBA, I think they will make a ton of money from playoff basketball because people are starved for it. So just like this Jordan documentary's killing it in the ratings, I think the NFL draft, it made like $100 million. It was some crazy number of money. And so what will the ratings do then for the salaries? Will it be a huge just kick in? Maybe the commissioner then will find a way to get it into the player's salary then.
I mean, I don't think it's getting into the player's salary at all. I see it pretty, from everything you read, it's pretty plain and simple. If there are regular season games that aren't played, it's going to come out of the player's salary next year. It's very plain and simple into the collective bargaining agreements. And then the only thing that will beat where the playoff money is very important, it's goes into the salary cap for the next year because it's all revenue sharing, so percentages and things like that, where the salary cap will actually get set.
Mm-hmm.
So it's complicated. I don't understand it too much, other than I would say, a novice understanding.
Yeah, I just hope that we can. I think we'll maybe see some college basketball, but good news is it's May. By June, you'll get some more results. Each and every day, you're going to get results coming in pretty soon. Would you agree?
I think by June 1st, and maybe it's just my optimism, you're going to have a pretty clear picture one way or the other where things are going to really be standing. I think we are going to have a real good idea. Is there going to be football in the fall? I think we're going to have a real good idea if basketball's back. Obviously, I think we'll know by then. And then, like as a nation, are things just going to be really shut down, or are we just going to kind of push through it and kind of accept, some sickness and some death? I don't know what's going to happen.
And the challenge, because
yeah,
I mean, now you're painted as a villain if you possibly say that the nation can like come back. You're like painted as like not caring about people, but eventually, I just think that the absurdity. I just think people are going to start, just going out, seeing their friends when it's nice out, and you're going to take that risk if you're like a young person. I just think that that's probably what's going to happen.
I would agree with that somewhat, but I think where people are, it's the people who are, I would say, lower middle class, like people who kind of live paycheck to paycheck is a better way of putting it, that really need their money are going to be the ones pounding on the doors like, hey, our family's starving, this, that, the other thing. Like, we need to get back to work. Like, my family's going to lose our house. We need to get back to work. And they're not going to care that, some more people are going to get sick because they're going to die, or their families are going to basically, financially die completely if they're not working, where I think that's where you're going to see the revolt of people.
Well, Dave, it was fun, man. Looking forward to our next pod. Should be soon, maybe end of this week or next week. Thanks for coming on the show tonight.
All right, thank you, buddy.